Great. So my name is Stefano Gridelli, and I'm co-founder and CEO of NetBeez. And I'll get you through a demo of our distributed network monitoring solution called NetBeez. So I'm switching now my laptop to the dashboard. I'll sit down here. OK, so there is a lot of things going on right now. OK, so first of all, this is the NetBeez dashboard, right? It runs on any browser. Is a HTML5 based dashboard. As you see, each agent, whether it's a Raspberry Pi, a virtual agent, or a wireless agent, is represented as a thumbnail, right? So again, you receive an agent, you plug it on the network, and then they will automatically report to your dashboard. Of course, the dashboard is a multi-user and multi-role, so there is a login panel, right? And you insert your email address and password. This is the first screen that you access when you log to the dashboard, and this is what we call the agent view. One agent per general location, one thumbnail per agent. Agents can be also grouped, right, based on the groups that you define. For example, I have a group of external agents.
You can be in multiple groups, right?
Yes, exactly, right. So creating a group is really simple. You click here, test, right, and then you select the agents that you want part of that group. So it's a way right now to filter simply agents within your dashboard.
Were there rules on the grouping?
Not right now. Right now it's just a kind of UI filter. In the future, we see building more features, right?
I'm thinking like if I'm using 172.16/12 in my MPLS networks, then automatically go into this group.
Right.
Group them by site based on prefixes assigned to the site or whatever. Yeah.
That's a great point.
It would be nice to see something where the default that you land on says like, agents in good status and has a grouping, and then, agents with alert or something like that. So that
Well, down at the bottom there, it looks like it's actually got a little quick traffic light.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. If you have 200 agents on that screen, what you want is the ones with problems right up at the top.
Bubbled up at the top.
Exactly.
Traffic lights, and I want to see the red first. Not have to scroll down 5 pages in order to go, oh, this guy's red.
And you have a page where you only show the ones with problems.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Then another one where you only
show
show the good stuff, and we call that the management dashboard.
Right. The manager's dashboard. Yes.
The manager's dashboard.
Green.
By the way, when you put things into groups, it would be nice to have a list of recently added agents.
True. Like a just discover, so you know, hey, those are the groups that have to. Right. Yeah.
These are the ones that I haven't put into groups yet.
So, no, great point. And so I think 2 things. Like, we want to do like a more smart groups, definitely, based on even probably rules eventually. And second, we want to do like another layer of dashboard. As you see, I mean, with 200 agents, it doesn't scale very well. So we're looking, of course, to build a higher level dashboard that provides, what matters, open tickets, open problems, et cetera, et cetera. So each agent, as you can see, runs the ping, DNS, HTTP, and traceroute test. And the status of each test is color-coded. Right now, we have mostly green and red tests. Before, we had some performance issues. But bottom line, a green test means everything is OK. Red test means we have a failure. And orange test would appear before here means there is a performance issue. Just other elements of the dashboard. Here we have the total number of agents managed by this dashboard. 23 are up and running and 2 are unreachable, which is 1 in Milan and 1 in Atlanta. And we have also the server time, because it's important that your browser is synced with the server time. Otherwise, the real-time information is offset. So if I click on an agent, you can see that now I access the agent detail view, right? So in the agent detail view, what I see is the name and IP address of the agent, the number of tests. And here I have immediately the statistics about that agent, right? So I have the availability that is compute basically on the uptime between the server and the agent, right? So that could be correlated to the availability of the site that you're looking at. And this is the agent uptime, so for how long that agent was up or rebooted. And then you see also the agent clock, right? Make sure that it is synced, which it is. As you see here is the time window, so you can expand your uptime.
So you use NTP to sync?
The agents, yes, right. Because Raspberry Pi, they don't have real-time clock. Right, yeah. So as you can see, you can also see the statistics change based on the time window. So you can see what it was the uptime in the last month, in the last week, and so on. And also the IP address and the transmitted and received kilobit per second, right? So it's all centrally managed, right? So to be scalable, a solution like NetBeez, the agent must be plug and play, and the configuration are centrally done. So you never have to do any configuration on the agent. So for example, if you want to set the IP address, it's all here in the interface management. You can set the DHCP on and off, the DNS server, subnet mask, speed and duplex, right? If you have like maybe static speed and duplex settings or automatic, this is the place where you would put it. And as you can see, this interface is built to add IPv6 interfaces in the future and other NWLAN 0 interfaces, right, for wireless agents. Now, for wireless agents, it's easy. You just plug, the dongle that is approved by us. Basically, we support now a specific dongle, and you can start monitoring with wireless. Then I'll show you the wireless agents.
I think I missed something. Did you say you're going to add VLAN?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't say it, but yes, also VLAN. Yeah,
okay.
Also VLAN are in the
VLAN tag sub-interface with multiple IPs on them. So if we've got a we tag it in IDF and we've got voice and video or voice and data VLANs, we can originate tests from each.
Right. And then there are more type of interfaces that we're considering, right? Yeah, definitely. So that's exactly like any interface that you want, potentially you can. So these are as you can see here, this is the agent test tab. So you can see all the agents that specific bees is running, right? So you see the test status are color coded. If I click on any test, I can see the real-time graph, right? So, and if I click on the information here, I see, okay, this is a ping test to google.com, run every 5 seconds with a 5 seconds interval, and a SMP payload size of 54 bytes, right? So like a traditional regular ping test. Try to. So for each test, we generate an average, right, for the last day, week, or month, or 15 minutes. So you can see really if something is happening, if you have performance degradation issues at that location, right, thanks to that ping test. We also have a computation of packet loss, right, so non-return SMP replies, right, from your destination. You can also pause and resume the test, right? You can pause also all the tests. I'm sorry, You can also pause all the tests. Say you're doing configuration change in that location, you want to receive false alarms, and then you can resume it when everything is up and running, and you can resume your monitoring. For each test, we have historical data. So if I click on this icon, I can review what was happening from this morning, or X days ago, from the day I push my test to my agent, right? So you will always have that data at the network or DNS, right, or HTTP level to understand when you have sporadic connectivity issues and the browsing is really immediate, right? Of course, the data is retained based on your data retention policy. So since we're here, I can show you quickly where you configure that. On the top right, you have the NetBeez settings, and here you have the data retention, right? So in this specific configuration, we keep for 3 months the raw data, the 1 minute average for 1 year, the 1 hour average for 2 years, and the 24-hour average for 3 years. And the user can really play with this and decide how much data to retain. And then here we'll generate the estimated space required. Takes some time because it's calculating that disk space requirements based on the number of tests, the interval, right? Okay, so for each test, bottom line, you can always access the same type of information: real-time graph, historical data, average, and a percentage of failures, right? So DNS, HTTP, the same type of plot. And traceroute, you can have in the real-time graph the number of hops, right? And then if you click on the detail view, you can see for each instance of traceroute, the hops traversed, the path MTU, the round trip time per hop, right? So basically, you can see when you have a failure if something changes your routing, and cross-compare, right? So here you go. You have.
So, and if you covered this earlier, I apologize, but so what is the criteria, or what are the criteria that determine a green or red trace route? Change in number of hops,
so, right.
or?
Good question. So right now, trace routes are just green, so we just give you the trace route data, but we can generate alerts based on change in number of hops.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What about for the other measures? So like the ping time, for example. Are you setting a threshold based on
right
an average of the first hour it's on or something, and then saying that's if it's within a percentage of that, it's okay? Or
so let me show you the alerts. Okay. Great question. So anyway, you got it. Like a trace route is a plotted way, really simple way to access that data. You know, hops and MTU, right? Path MTU based on the sender interface. But okay, so for the alerts, the way we generate the alerts are based on these rules, right? So you decide what type of rule you want to attach to your test. So we have the traditional up-down kind of failure detection test, right? So it's based on the number of consecutive ping packet, SMP replies not received, right? DNS failed or HTTP. So this would be a red test.
So that's... I guess the thing is that's because we're monitoring what the ping response time is.
Yes.
But the alerts are being generated on ping failures.
Okay. So
can I say
right.
Okay? So this is
we have the right. So these are the orange. Right. These are the orange failures, the performance failures. So we have two type of kind of ways to detect performance degradation. One is performance baseline. So this is based on these metrics: ping, packet loss, round trip time, DNS failed test, lookup time, right? You got it? You understand where I'm going? Like all these metrics, you can basically say over a short-term period, right? If the average in your short-term period is greater than, 3 times the long-term period, then generate a performance alert. So that is like a mostly baseline, and it's really makes sense for a distributed network, right, where each location has its own performance. Absolutely. So you don't want to put a common threshold, right?
That's what I was worried about.
Exactly. So yeah, that is really necessary baseline performance detection, right? But we have also a type of SLA or performance watermark. Mm-hmm. So you can say if those metrics over a short-term window, the average over this average is greater than, say, if my packet loss over the last minute is more than 5%, trigger an alert. So this is for like a mostly SLA or all your website. No matter what, you want a response time better than 1 second, right? No, not cross the 1 second mark.
Cool. Thank you.
Great.
I'm looking. If we could back up for a second on the displaying the data.
Yeah.
Is it possible to display the data from, say, the 15th of 1 month to the 15th of the next month? Because I'm sort of noticing the 1 day, 1 week, 1 month.
Right. So that is the trailing, exactly. So the way you could do that with the report, but would be the average. If you want do you want the plot, the line? Mm-hmm. So right now would be on a day basis. So we don't go beyond the day boundaries.
So what I've seen some other products do is they just have a generic slider with the dates but no data, and then you can zoom out to 6 months or zoom in.
Exactly, yeah.
That interacts with your data storage format and other factors too.
Great point, yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that, and maybe put in parallel multiple tests so you can see, across multiple location, different layers,
the compare feature where you can compare two, or
Right.
What sorts of authentication do you support for this dashboard?
It's
that Active Directory?
Right now, just built-in username and password.
Okay.
So if I click here on the NetBeez settings, we have users, right? So when you create a new user, you have to specify the username and the password. First name, last name, and email. So then you will log in with your email. And then we support the administrator, which that's the type of access I'm having now. So I can also manage the accounts. Read and write can do everything, but not manage the accounts. And read only can only just review the information. So don't push new tests.
So you're defaulting to HTTPS for all of this?
The dashboard?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. We don't run on HTTP. We just self-signed certificates right now, yeah.
Okay. Do you have any kind of roadmap for two-factor authentication support?
Not right now. Mostly Radius. I mean, we want to integrate with Radius, but that could be something that, based on a feature
request, you can do other things.
Right. Yep. Based on features requested, we can definitely. Right. Okay, so this is the agent view, and as you can see, each test you have.
Just one thing there, we're just talking on the alerts. You know, we could set up the different alerting conditions. You know, more than 5% above average or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. I could then associate that with specific sets of targets or agents.
Yes, the alerts.
Yeah,
actually,
you know, like
let me show you.
This one I care about if it's more than 5%, but that other one maybe it's 10% or whatever.
Right. So yeah, you can do that, and actually, I'll show you then the target view, because that's how, by creating a target, that's how you push tests to agents, a group of agents, and when you do that, you can configure the performance, the alerts that you configure, right? So you create your alert rules. We have default rules, but you can create your custom rules. And then when you create a target, you can connect whatever rule.
Yeah, because you know, I mean, some stuff's more critical than others.
Exactly,
basically.
Right. You can also define the recipient email to which you send the alerts, right? So I think just another component of the agent view is that you have on the bottom all the alerts logged by that specific agent, right? So if I don't have any tests selected, I can see all the alerts triggered by this agent. Let me see if here we have any alerts, maybe here. Okay. Not connected, verify network. It looks like I'm not connected right now. Okay, let me see. So bottom line, like on the bottom here, you have all the alerts that are connected by the agent. And then we can also filter the alerts based on the specific test, right, that I'm selecting. So you can basically filter through your alerts. I hope I am. Okay, and this is also another panel where you can see the live stream of all the alerts that you received. Okay, so for the wireless agents, if I click on a wireless agent, as you see, the view is really similar. So I have two types of interfaces, like the test interface, which is the W10, and then I have the control, the management interface, which is the wired interface. And as you can see, the tests are running on the wireless interface, while on the control interface is just the control channel that reports back to the server. You have the same view as the traditional wired agent. On top of that, you have two more tabs. So this is the wireless tab. And in the wireless tab, the data that you can review is the transmitted and received kilobit per second on the wireless interface. We support A, B, G, N. And on the second graph, you can see the signal strength and the link quality, right, plotted in the timeline, the channel that you're connected to, and also the bit rate that is established with the access point. On the bottom here, you can also see the type of protocol supported and the BSSID, so to what access point that specific client is connected to. And if I click, I can also access the historical data, right, to see what was happening like yesterday with my wireless and et cetera, et cetera. So there you go. And then you can browse. When you connect to a different or disconnect here, it's marked on your historical data to see when I change access point, basically, or when I was disconnected and then reconnected. Of course, this is the first iteration. Then we'll improve the dashboard.
I mean, I like what I see. I think kind of going back to earlier, one of the questions I asked, one of the things I think what you have here is very good. One additional thing I'd like to see would be available airtime. Okay. Because that tells me how busy is that access point, how busy is that airspace.
Okay.
If I may have perfect signal, I may have a great SNR.
Right.
But if I've got someone, streaming a lot, if I've got a bunch of people streaming, video or something along those lines, and there's no actual airspace for me to talk into, it's still not a good quality. I've still got users complaining.
So you're thinking channel occupancy?
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's a real good point because we've had some strange queries from people trying to run, for instance, a call center on Bluetooth headsets. and started seeing some numbers. Even though Bluetooth is low channel occupancy, you put 300 call agents in a small room with Bluetooth keyboards and mice and headsets, you got a problem.
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
Suddenly that decked headset looks like a bit better option.
Yeah. So it's just again, I certainly like what I'm saying. I think it's very useful, and it certainly beats some of the other monitoring solutions where you're having to either take an AP and kick it into a particular mode to listen or whatever. I think with the addition of what's actually how much airtime is available for use would be huge, and I'd use it. I mean.
This group's been watching that commercial where the guy keeps saying, and?
Right. No, it's definitely makes sense, yeah. Right now we have, these are other information that we extrapolate from the BSSID, from the signal. So we can tell you, you're connected since, what time with the access point, the bit rate established with the access point, and then the type of authentication. In this case, we have WPA pre-shared key, but we also support EAP methods. For enterprise, yeah. And in the third tab, there is the available SSID list. So if I click, I can discover what SSID are broadcasting where that agent is installed. Right now it's ad hoc, right? In the future, we see this continuous check and maybe monitor some other SSID. For each SSID, we report the signal strength, the link quality, as reported by the drivers, the frequency and the channel, and then you can, sort those however you prefer.
Do you guys support monitoring, wireless at 20 megahertz channels and 40 megahertz channels, or just 20?
20 megahertz and 40, like for a dual mode, or
channel bonding.
I know it's dual mode.
Yes, it's dual mode. So we are talking about 2.5 and 5.2.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, but the question there is, so you guys said you support 802.11n, and one of the things that came along with that was going from a 20 megahertz channel width to a 40 megahertz channel width. So are you guys listening to the 40 megahertz, or are you only listening to the 20 megahertz?
Okay.
Yeah. I know it's dual mode, but
it doesn't really impact this as much as it impacts when you're actually connected to an AP and you're trying to make that quality judgment, right?
Right.
Well, they're killing more adjacent frequencies.
Well, yeah, that too.
Which is kind of important.
Right.
Yeah, it's all very well knowing someone's on a particular channel, but you want to know, and how many did they obliterate either side? Right.
Yeah. Well, but also, it has if you can, if you've got a client that only supports 20 megahertz, it'll connect to an AP that's, that's got that 40 megahertz channel, but you're only going to use the 20 megahertz stream. So, so that's the real question here: does the wireless client you're using, the supplicant you're using, does it support that 40 megahertz stream?
I have to double check with drivers. I'm not sure about the answer right now. Yeah.
And again, I know this is brand new technology for you guys. Right. And you're, working through it for sure, but it's promising.
Great. So
I got a question real quick. Just maybe you said this already. Can I take an existing agent and upgrade it to a Wi-Fi agent?
You just plug one of the wireless card that we approve, and you reboot it. And it basically reports as a wireless agent. And from that moment on, will be wireless agent though. So the state of the agent, if you go from wired to wireless, is sticky, because you don't want someone walking in the closet, unplugging the wireless card, and then all the tests will fail on the Ethernet. And then you said, oh, everything is fine, but everything is not fine. So that will be signal as if, actually when the wireless card is down or is not connected to the wireless, the agent will still report, but you'll see all the tests failing. And you see the wireless icon turn red.
Okay.
So that's how you can detect either you're not connected or there is not a wireless NIC inside.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Can you set off a burglar alarm?
What, I'm sorry?
Somebody took your dongle. Can you set off an alarm?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be another thing that we want to implement, like a trap, like, hey, someone remove it. Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking siren and local flashing light.
Cameras turning on. Yeah, but that's exactly the point.
So, are you going to move into configuration of the HTTP tests?
Yes, exactly. Okay. So this is the tab, right? Agents, location, real-time information about what's happening, right? And again, all agents report to the same dashboard, external, virtual, wireless, and wired. Then, how do you monitor your network? So you go in the target view, and as you can see, there's a lot of going on, but you basically configure a target and you push tests to agents that you decide to be part of that target, right? And on a per target basis, you can also decide the type of alerts that you want to, to configure to your, for your target. So, for example, here we have like some DNS tests, right? Push to a bunch of agents, right? So the view is really similar to the target view. So, for example, we have a Verizon, Google, and OpenDNS servers that we're monitoring with the ping. We're also executing some DNS queries and traceroute, right? And we have like 13 agents monitoring this specific target. Let me create a new target so to show you how you can push test. So I click on this big plus sign. Let's imagine we want to monitor the Tech Field Day maybe website, right? So I specify the name of the target and then put a description, maybe the URL. Okay. Now these are the tests that I can use to monitor the target. So I can say, okay, I want a ping test, right, every 5 seconds. I can also specify the MTU size, set or not the done fragment bit, right? And then these are the default alerts that are attached to the test. But given all other tests that alerts that I configure, I can here select also a performance alert, for example, right? So let's keep a traditional up-down type of monitoring test. Then I can do also a DNS, test, a check, to make sure that users at my remote locations can resolve that specific, fully qualified domain name. I can specify DNS server or leave the default one with which the agents were configured, leave the same parameters and the default triggering alerts. Same for HTTP, every 60 seconds. Also here I can put more options. And then a traceroute. I want to do a traceroute test every 2 minutes. I can do UDP, SMP, or TCP, right? Maybe I can do a TCP traceroute to simulate the application. In the advanced option, I can choose the destination port number, the timeout per op, and the toss also if I want. And I can also generate, I don't have any rule, but I can also generate tracer alert, say if the average number of hops increases, decreases, or it's more than a specific number, right? So this is good to monitor internal network locations when your routing is pretty stable, the number of hops, and those should not go beyond a certain number.
Yeah. Can you go back to the HTTP test?
Yes. There.
Just wanted to see what our options were there. So
right, very simple option. You can put get parameters within the URL.
Can you dictate what the response needs to be for successful, whether it's a 200 or a...
Right, so right now not, but yeah, that's a feature actually that we are looking to implement.
How about HTTPS? You support HTTPS?
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can.
What if it's not a publicly signed cert?
You can. We support it.
Okay.
Self-signed certificates are supported.
Self-signed certs, or if it's like an internal distributed cert from AD or whatever that's not... Okay.
Exactly, yeah, we support. And also column, right? Column 8080, port 8080, right? You can also specify that in the URL. In the future, we're looking to parse the response code, maybe do some, scraping on the return
look for
web page.
certain content
right,
on the page.
Certain content, and then HTTP transaction is the next step. So doing like real transaction against a cloud application, right? Maybe Salesforce, you want to log in.
Like a 3-stage type.
Exactly, right. Yeah. So we're looking to support that as well. Yeah.
But if you get like a 300 or 400 error code, you'll see it on the dashboard.
Oh, okay.
Oh, great.
Yeah, 400 codes, yeah.
I mean, that's not strictly a measure of performance from the agent, but on the other hand, if I'm going to put an agent out in every IDF in every building, why not use it to test my application too?
And you can set your timeout time if you want to do it to 2 seconds or 1 second, right?
Right.
Everything beyond that's going to be a failed test. So you can create an alert for performance like that.
And if you get that number too low, you get a lot of email?
Aggregate alerts, that's why, yeah, right. Yeah. And then in the future, we'll see more aggregation and correlation of alerts, right? Right now, we send you the alerts, but in the future, we'll do more intelligence and aggregation and study about all the alerts. As you can see, we have so much data, we have to start managing that data and spit out basically meaningful information to the network engineer. So the next step is select the agents, right? And here is where you can basically choose which agent based on groups, right? Or just select all the agents, right? 25 agents on that target, or just a subset of agents. Let's pick some agents random, maybe a wireless agent, right? And once you select the agents, you can enable or disable specific SMTP alerts. As I was saying, you can generate email alerts via SMTP or via SNMP. You can configure traps, right? Right now we support version 1 and version 2C of SNMP traps.
Version 3 is on your roadmap, I'm sure?
Yes. Yes.
Check.
Good. And right, and then also syslog, for example, that's another one, pretty important. Okay, so now I click Save. A new object is going to be created. And then basically the test, there you go. And all new targets have been sent. So now the controller is pushing all the tests to the agent. The agent will start creating, start monitoring the target. And then all the test information will be reported to the dashboard. So, and then you see the same type of information as you see, right? Okay. So let's let him push it. Then, based on this, you can basically review your data, right? So cross-compare one agent towards another. For example, here we had a flat red line, right? Versus this agent was working just fine. So you can see really quickly understand what is the difference from one agent to another agent, right? And the performance. See that some agents are network delays. But that's exactly the point. You can understand if a problem is local versus global, if all the agents are detecting the same issue, right? And quickly assess the scale of the problem. So meanwhile, here we have the agents are getting the information. We have some agents in the US, some actually are in our office, right? And some are in international. So each one of them, right, will, there you go. And you see the real-time information getting in the dashboard, right? And then you start generating alerts based on the rules that you pushed. So this could be also a dashboard that is in the NOC style, right? Instead of having all the agents, you can see the targets. And based on what you see in the target object, you can understand if all your users are affected with performance issues for a specific application. Or you can also have a full mesh, right? Ping test and traceroute test across your locations. And keep an eye on your network performance, packet loss. So the other tabs, we have one tab per each class of tests, and those are called the grid views. So the grid views is good to compare real-time performance graph across different agents. So in the first row, you see all the agents that you deploy in your network, and in the first row, all the destinations, right, that those agents are pinging in this case. So you can really compare what is the performance lab 1 versus lab 4 for the test.netbeez.net URL. Of course, this has a scalability issue, right? When you have a lot of agents, might be not appropriate. So that's why the target view would be the best place also when you can do comparison one to other agent. We provide a grid view for each type of test that we can run. And the last tab is the hyperf tab. Here's where you can generate bandwidth measurement between two agents and spin ad hoc an hyperf test between two agents, right? So I can select any agent, any B that I've deployed in my network. And then the option I have a TCP, UDP, or a multicast. And you can also specify the test duration, the server port, the window size, and the DSCP value. With which mark your packets. So if I click run now, what's happening is I will run an hyperf test between these two agents with the default interval that is 10 seconds. And when I run a hyperf test, all the monitoring tests are paused, so we don't skew the data, right? Because of course you're using CPU and bandwidth, and specifically with the TCP, you send as much bandwidth as you can. So with the Raspberry Pis, for example, we can push 65 to 70 megabit per second. They have a 10100 NIC. But also the Gigi agent, they can push around 600 megabit per second, right? So right now they're pausing the test, as you can see, and then they'll generate the information, right? You see in real time here the stream. So while we wait for the agents to run the test, of course they have to pause all the test, spin up the iPerf server, iPerf client, transfer the data, and then generate the report for you. You can also run iPerf test between wireless agents, right? So, or between wired and wireless agents.
Is that only ad hoc, or can you schedule?
Schedule, right. So right now we're working on the schedule iPerf. So you can say every X minute or every hour, generate an iPerf test, and then you can have that baseline. So would you see yourself using it every day or maybe once a week, potentially?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, it would be nice to be able to have that run periodically and run a report on, as opposed to just post-issue report, right?
Okay.
Yeah. It'd be nice to have that for, say, a problem site, right? You want to schedule it to run during different periods of time, so you can kind of isolate down, where things are or when things are happening. And then, maybe let it run for a little while after, periodically, just to make sure that you worked all the kinks out. And
exactly, yeah. So in fact, we want to schedule you can schedule every X minute, hour, or maybe time of the day or time of the week. So you can be really flexible and keep that baseline based on that, yeah.
Yeah, you've got the two applications for it. You've got the scheduled application where you're running it constantly and have your baseline, like you said.
Right.
And that way, when you do your actual ad hoc, checking it for troubleshooting or just having a look at what it's like at that moment, you've got something to base your comparison on, which is really good. Leaving aside just having something you can iPerf from anywhere is a huge thing right there, without having to send someone with a laptop to do it.
Right. Do you all have iPerf server in your network, installed around that? Do you use it, generally iPerf?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, we have extensive deployments of Perf Sonar, which
Perf Sonar, right?
Which heavily utilizes
iPerf, yeah. Yeah, that's a great tool, yeah. Do you have a dedicated workstation for Perf Sonar or virtual machine?
They're all dedicated machines. The organization I work for actually writes Perf Sonar and iPerf.
Okay, that makes sense. So right now, journey is much faster. I see some network delay in our office. That's why those agents take a little longer, as you can see. But yeah, so here we have the result. Again, it's much quicker. And we can see the average bit rate right down to the second level, and then the overall, the average was 60 megabit per second. Those agents, I think they're in different subnet, but really on the same, 3750. They're on the same switch, and there is just a router in between. So pretty good bandwidth. You can also run UDP, and actually multicast iPerf is a good way to periodically test multicast delivery, that your network can deliver multicast. I don't know if all of you have multicast enabled in your network, but sometimes it's really difficult to validate that. You use VLC perhaps, right? So having something that constantly make sure that the multicast is not broken, that's something that you can do easily with the NetBeez agent. Okay, so the next step is the reports, and this is the first iteration of the reports that we can generate, because we have all this data from collected by the agents, and it's really important to know what's going on in your network. So ideally, when you have one agent per location, you want to know what is the uptime, what is the average round trip time in a day to reach a specific destination, whether it's Salesforce.com or one of your internal applications. So here, based on the targets that you created, you can generate a report based on the test. So as you can see here, I have for the ping test, I have the round trip time with the average round trip time. And down here, I have the order by the worst to the best performance, right? And I can see also the packet loss. For example, my wireless agent number 2 has high packet loss. And then also this agent in Stanton Heights, right, has a pretty high packet loss. So this is a good way to spot problems in the problem that otherwise are difficult to detect, right? Or the user report, or you have to check your interfaces. By having like agents at each network location, you can see what are the areas that have problems. Same type of reports for the DNS test and for the HTTP test. Here's still crunching. And you can also see the traceroute test in this case are UDP, so they all went expired. But basically, if you have like a TCP, that most probably was like blocked by a firewall, right? So it was not a good measurement. But if you have SMP or TCP, where you have the actual number of hops, you can see what is the average number of hops for your sites and compare. That is pretty much it. I think I provide a good overview of the dashboard. Do you have any specific questions before we close?
I'm impressed with the depth of what you've coded up in terms of the reporting. That's a lot of work.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. To be in 2 years, yeah, I would try to develop as a lot of feature, and scalability also is a key component. So right. Great.
What's the actual connectivity from the NetBe agent to the server dashboards, like an HTTPS connection?
TCP. It's an SSL encrypted connection, right? So initially it was not encrypted, and then with the wireless, right? Because you push authentication credential, we use encrypted connection. So it's TCP, okay. Right? On a non-standard ports, I would say. Yeah.
And on the wireless, you do support like WPA2 enterprise authentication?
So since I have probably quick time to show you quickly, to configure wireless, you go in the wireless profile in the NetBeez settings, and these are the type of authentication we support: WEP, WPA, pressure key, and EAP, right? So then you can easily configure your profile and push it to the agent, and you're all set. Right. Yeah, and back to the agent here. From the agent menu, you can attach that specific wireless profile to that agent. As you see here, we're on the NetBeez Wi-Fi, but right, you can choose whatever you prefer.
When you convert a wired to Wi-Fi, is it hard to get it back to wired if you decided you're done with it?
Right. That would be a case where you reset it. So you have to factory default reset the agent. So you do that by plugging a thumb drive. The agent will be like brand new, and then you plug it to the network and will provision to our management system, and then we'll report back to your dashboard.
So just that on the factory reset. So what? Little USB drive, plug it in, a cycle, and it'll go. It'll reset it.
Yeah, you plug a thumb drive, wait 20 seconds, and then you power cycle. You're good to go. We have also a reset to the HCP in case you ship it out and the IP address was wrong. You plug a mouse, it reset to the HCP, and you're good to go. Otherwise, then you have to bring it back. So that's a good way to make it easy.
Cool.